wanted to introduce the next video. It's about primarily getting to know yourself and working on growing yourself. So this particular video is going to be about the MBTI types. This is a new subject that was introduced to me this semester and I absolutely loved it. So I wanted to be able to share it with you guys. So the resource that I've used that was given to me in class is called the Introduction to Myers-Briggs Type. It's actually a pretty good reference. It goes through the 16 different personality types. And there's actually a website that is included that you can go to. The other source for it is on the 16personalities.com website. There's some fun interactive tools there, and there's actually a way for you to test to see what your type is. The Myers-Briggs type has been around for many years. It was developed to actually be able to identify where people can be categorized so that you can try to understand yourself and understand others so you can work together. Basically, there's different pairs, what they call preference pairs, and there's 8 different types, and then 4 different pairs that go together. So these types and these preference pairs are
extroversion, introversion, sensing, intuition.
Try thinking.
Thinking. Feeling. Judging. Perceiving.
Okay. So let's get into more detail about the preference pairs and what they mean. The extroverted versus the introverted types. This is basically how you direct and receive your energy. The extroverted types will direct their energy toward the outside world, and they will be energized by the outside world as well. The introverted types, they will direct their energy toward the internal world, and they will get energized by self-reflection and remaining in a quiet environment, kind of self-reflection type. The other preference pair is a sensing versus the intuitive type. This is how you take in and receive information. The sensing type likes real, tangible information. It's what you can actually perceive. If you use your 5 senses to actually look at tasks and information presented to you, it's what you can actually put your hands on. So that data collection, the evidence that they're looking at, that is what they prefer when they're taking in information. The intuitive type, the intuition section, is the general picture. They look at general concepts. They look at the patterns overall that they're looking at. So there's nothing that they can objectively look at per se. So they're not really looking at that real intangible evidence. They're kind of looking at the things beyond that they're noticing. So very different on how those 2 classes will take in information. The next preference pair is the thinking and the feeling type. So this is how you decide and come to conclusions with information. The thinking type is very logical. They prefer accuracy and objective completions, truth-seeking, versus the feeling type, which is very more focused on like that personal and social values. They focus on that understanding in the group, harmonizing the group. So 2 different classifications there on how they want to perceive and come to conclusions for the tasks completions. Then we've got the judging and perceiving types. This is how they approach the outside world. The judging types prefer decisiveness. They like to plan and they like to come to conclusions, where the perceiving type likes to actually remain in kind of a spontaneity realm. They like flexibility, they like open-mindedness, so it's very difficult for them to want to come to conclusion on some tasks. So you'll see they're the ones that kind of will want to delay the projects, perhaps mainly because they want more time to think about it and they don't necessarily want to decide for things yet. So very contrasting compared to that judging type. My MBTI type is actually the ENFJ. So that's the extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging type. As a physician, this actually comes into play, and I think it fits my field very well. I have to be relatively extroverted. I'm around people all day, so I would like to be able to pull energy from them because I need to be able to be enthusiastic when I'm taking care of my patients, and so I pull all my energy from them and just love what I do. The feeling section actually comes into play with me a lot because it's important for me to be empathetic when I'm working with my patients. The intuitive section comes into play because as an internist, I have to be able to see the big picture. I have to be able to understand why my patients are having trouble with their medical plan or their social situations that are influencing their medical care, things like that. So I like that big picture. As an internist, I'd love to see patterns in their medical care, and their numbers and their values, things like that. Yeah. And then that judging type's pretty important. So it's important for me to be able to come up with that logical conclusion and a plan of care for the patients, to be on board together as a partnering team with them, to come up with a plan for their health care. So I think that my MBTI type fits my field pretty well. But overall, we can take this information, we can take these MBTI types and actually use them, the knowledge of knowing what our team members are, what our managers are, what the people that are assisting us are. If we know their MBTI types, we can actually take that information to understand how to present information to them, because we would understand what motivates them, what energizes them. What kind of information do they like? Do they like that logical data instead of just the general patterns and concepts? Do they want it concrete? Do they want something they can feel instead of something that they can think about for theory? Do they need to know the objective for the information, or do they need to know more of the value-based information? It also allows us to be able to identify strengths and weaknesses within our members so that we can build a good, balanced team. If we're creating a team or developing a team, if we understand where their strengths and weaknesses are, we can actually build a really good, balanced team so we can work off each other and use our strengths and our weaknesses based off our MBTI types. So it's a pretty good tool to use to be able to create those kind of team environments and help with our team dynamics. So I really enjoyed this topic, and I know that in the future I'll be able to use it as a tool. It's not necessarily something you would go and, not let somebody be on a team because of their MBTI type, but I think you can use it as a tool for information. Again, because people do have characteristics of the different types, and they might just have a tendency toward another, but they still have the flexibility and options to flex into one realm depending on the situation. So I do think this is a big thing to learn. So feel free to use the resource. Like I said, my class reference that was provided is an amazing tool. It goes over the strengths and weaknesses in the workplace, and then again in the team setting. So this is a good one. And then that 16personalities.com online is actually a good place if you want to test yourself and find out your strengths and your weaknesses yourself. But MBTI, good little tool. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to continue on with getting to know and grow yourself in the next video. Thanks. Perfect.
I sounded like some type of boss. Some type of crazy boss.